Today we are going to talk about the gross rent multiplier. Okay, don't get so excited just yet. As a real estate agent, typically when you show a buyer a property, they will ask you questions about amenities such as a pool, they'll ask you about the neighborhood, sometimes they'll ask you if there are blue houses available or even red houses. But every once in a while, you will take a client out who does not care about any of that stuff. They care about renting the property. They care about the money. But without all those features, such as pools and amenities and a color of a house, all the properties look the same now. Because what your client cares about is the numbers. So you look at the numbers. You look at the price of the properties, and then you look at the rent amounts for each property. But for some reason, you still feel a little overwhelmed. This is where the gross rent multiplier comes in. Yes, now you could cheer. Let's hear it for the gross rent multiplier.
So stupid.
You see, this new buyer does not care about the property itself. It does not care about the rent amount on its own. What they care about is how the price of the property relates to the rent amount. And that number is called the gross rent multiplier. Ooh, that was intense. The gross rent multiplier is very simply price divided by rent. The gross rent multiplier can be calculated in annual terms and monthly terms. The annual term is a little more common, so let's first look at that. Let's say you have a property that's worth $100,000, and it brings in $10,000 in rent over the year. $100,000 divided by $10,000 equals 10, which would give you a gross rent multiplier of 10. If that $100,000 property brought in $20,000 a year in rent, it would have a gross rent multiplier of 5, and that would also be awesome. If that $100,000 property brought in $5,000 in annual rent, then you'd have a gross rent multiplier of 20, and that would not be so awesome. The monthly equation follows the same principle, price divided by rent. However, your result is going to be a little different. For example, if you have a $100,000 property that brings in $1,000 a month, then you'd have a monthly gross rent multiplier of 100. So as you can see, numbers from 5 to 20 usually represent annual gross rent multipliers, and numbers from 80 to 120 usually represent monthly gross rent multipliers. What if on your exam they give you a property that's $100,000, they give you a monthly rent amount of $1,000, but they ask you for the annual gross rent multiplier? Don't stress, no problem. All you have to do is take that monthly number and multiply it by 12. And now you have annual figures. You do $100,000 divided by 12,000, which will give you your gross rent multiplier of 8.3. I hope that helped. Just remember, price divided by rent gives you your gross rent multiplier. So keep it simple, keep it concise, and you'll pass your exam.